Another round of Social Security and disability payment checks are about to go out in a few days. I'm going to give you the exact update on when the direct deposits are going to hit your bank account. Also, President Biden wants to change Social Security, but there are 3 problems with the plan that he has put out. So I am going to walk you through how his plan is going to change Social Security for everybody and how you may be affected, including those who are about to receive benefits. And then you want to stay for the end of this video. I have an important announcement. 60 Minutes did a story recently about Social Security overpayments. About 1 million people, both Social Security and disability recipients, are at risk of losing their benefits because they receive more money than they deserve. I am going to walk you through what I learned from that 60 Minutes episode, what you should know about it, and if you get a letter, if you're one of the 1 million people that get a letter from the Social Security Administration about overpayments, you know exactly what to do. So stay tuned to the end of this video. So I am going to walk you through what I'm going to cover today. There are checks that are coming, Social Security and disability payments that are going to hit accounts in a few days. I'm going to give you the exact dates. I'm going to walk through Biden's 4-part plan to change Social Security for current beneficiaries and future beneficiaries. And there is a report that came out that talked about the 3 major problems with the president's plan. I'm going to review that and tell you what exactly they're talking about. And then the biggest story of the moment, 1 million people at risk of losing Social Security benefits. 60 Minutes did a big story with Anderson Cooper, and I want to tell you what I learned, what you should know, and how you should get ready. If you are new to this channel, I want to urge you to hit the subscribe button, because at Social Security Edge, our main goal is to bring you the latest news and updates about anything, both in and out of Congress, that may affect your benefits. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get started. So the first thing is, let's look at the payments that are coming up. The 3rd round of Social Security and disability payments are about to hit accounts soon. And I also want to talk about SSI payment dates. So what does that look like? Well, if you're on Social Security and SSDI benefits, you already know that your payments are based on your specific birth date and a specific Wednesday. So if your birthday is between November the 1st to the 10th, you're going to receive your Social Security benefits on the 2nd Wednesday of the month. So you should have gotten your benefits already. If your birthday is between the 11th and the 20th, your payments are sent on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And then if your birthday is between the 21st and the 30th of November, then your payments, your direct deposit for Social Security and SSDI are paid on the 4th Wednesday of the month. Now, if you did not get your benefit, if I've already talked about your schedule and you did not get your benefit, stay tuned. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do if your benefit did not hit your account. If you're on SSI benefits, your payments are made on the 1st of the month unless it falls on a weekend or a holiday. So if you have not received your SSI payments yet, stay tuned. I'm going to tell you specifically the steps you need to follow. You may have been a victim of overpayment, or your benefits may have been canceled because you violated a rule based on the Social Security manual. So I'm going to walk you through that. So let's talk about Social Security and SSDI payments. The last round of payments are coming up in a few days. As I mentioned, if your birthday is between the 1st and the 10th of November, you should have received your benefits on the 8th. If your birthday is between the 11th and the 20th, your payments should have been received. It should have hit your account on November the 15th. And then lastly, for those of you who are waiting, if your birthday is between the 21st of November and the 30th of November, your payments are going to be coming in on the 22nd of November. If you do not receive your benefits, stay tuned. So as I mentioned already, SSI, you should have received your benefits on the 1st of November. So if you didn't get your benefits, then there are steps you can take. And for those of you who are on SSI and Social Security, for those of you who live outside the United States, if your state is paying for your Medicare premium or you filed for Social Security before 1997, then if you are in any of these categories, then your payment should have been made on Friday, November the 3rd. So what happens if you don't get your Social Security or disability benefits? If it did not come in on time, according to the schedule that I have outlined, then there are 3 steps you can take. The first one is that you need to wait for 3 additional business days from your due date. So if your due date, if your benefits were supposed to come in on a specific date and did not hit your bank account, wait another 3 business days. And then if it still does not show up, then clearly there's a problem. Call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213. Or if you have a Social Security account, that is, if you've created a My Social Security account online, then log in to see what the issue is. You can also visit your local Social Security Administration office to find out what is happening with your payment, why your payment has stopped. And when I walk over the 60-minute story, that is what happened to one of the people, that their payment was stopped because of overpayment. Or it may be a cancellation altogether because you may have violated a rule, especially with disability benefits. So let's move on to President Biden's plan to reform Social Security. Now, you may say, why do we have to do this? Well, Social Security is in crisis, and if nothing is done by 2035, the Social Security Trust Fund is going to run out of money. So the president has put out a 4-part plan, which is going to cost $273 billion to try to fix this. So you may ask, why is this even happening? Well, Social Security is an important program that benefits a lot of people. 9 out of 10 retirees rely on Social Security. It has lifted 1 million people out of poverty. 1 million, that's a big deal. And then because of the demographic changes that are happening with the baby boomer generation is retiring, there is a $22 trillion funding shortfall that the Social Security Trust Fund is facing that needs to be addressed. So something has to be done. We can't continue to go the way we are going right now and hope for the best. Something has to be done. So President Biden put together a 4-part plan, his plan to fix Social Security next year. It has 4 components. The first one is to raise the payroll taxes on high-income earners, change the inflationary metric that is used to calculate the annual cost of living adjustment, to increase the special minimum benefit, that the lowest benefit that anybody on Social Security can receive. He wants to increase that. And then lastly, there's something called the primary insurance amount, which is the baseline amount upon which other things are added to calculate your final Social Security benefit. He wants to increase that for a certain age of people, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So let's review the president's plan, and then I'm going to tell you the 3 things, the 3 problems that experts have seen with his plan. But let's get into the details. The first part of his plan is to increase the payroll taxes. Currently, if you don't know, Social Security is funded through a payroll tax of 12.4%. So anybody making up to $160,200 in 2023 has to pay that 12.4%. If you make more than that, then up to $160,200 of your earnings face Social Security taxes. It means that the 12.4% payroll tax applies to you. Now, it used to be that on top of the 12.4% that is charged on $160,200 in benefits, if you made more than $400,000 in income, there was another Social Security tax on that. Well, that was eliminated. The president wants to bring that back. Now, when that comes, if his plan is successfully implemented, something is going to be happening where if you make $160,200 or less, you are going to pay Social Security taxes. And then if you make $400,000 or more, you're going to pay Social Security taxes. So then there's a gap. And this gap here is what they call the donut hole. And over time, the president's plan is hoping that with the adjustment to the national average wage index, which is pretty much inflation, they are hoping that that gap is going to close so that eventually everybody is going to pay Social Security taxes. And that is his plan, to put more money into the Social Security Trust Fund by eventually having everybody pay Social Security taxes. So the donut hole is going to close and all payroll all income, regardless of category, pays Social Security tax. So that is plan number 1. Plan number 2 of the president's plan is to increase or change the inflationary index by which Social Security COLA is calculated. Now, I did a whole video talking about next year's COLA for 2024, which came in at 3.2%. A lot of people were disappointed by that because COLA for the previous year, for 2023, was 8.7%. And now it's 3.2%. And a lot of people are not happy about that because cost of living has gone up and stayed up for a lot of things: food, transportation, healthcare. But the problem and the reason why the annual COLA does not increase as fast as it should is because the inflation index, or the consumer price index that is used to calculate COLA, is called the CPIW, which stands for the Consumer Price Index for Urban Wage Earners and Clerical Workers. That is the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics index that the Social Security Administration then uses to calculate. So here's how that works. Every year in the third quarter, they're going to look at a list of goods and services that affect urban wage earners and clerical workers: food, transportation, clothing, housing, etc., medical care. And then they're going to look at the price of those goods and services, the average price in the third quarter compared to the previous third quarter. So if this year's third quarter prices have gone up compared to last year's third quarter, then they will adjust the COLA upwards. If prices have stayed the same, there will be no adjustment. If prices fell, they cannot reduce your benefits. So they can only leave the benefits alone if nothing happened, or if prices went up, then they have to adjust up, but they cannot adjust down. The problem with using CPIW is that urban wage earners and clerical workers are not the people who are on Social Security. So why is the government using an index for people who are not affected to calculate benefits for a particular population that is affected? So the president is proposing that they change the CPIW to CPIE. E stands for elderly, so that anybody that's 62 over, they're going to look at all the costs that affect people 62 and over. Medical costs that have been increasing astronomically, premiums that have been going up, drugs and prescription drug benefits costs that have been going up. All those things are not factored to the extent that they should in the CPIW because it's measuring an index for people who are not on the benefits. So using CPIE, you look at the costs that directly affect seniors. So that is the second part of the president's plan. The third part is increase the special minimum benefit. Regardless of how much you made before you started collecting Social Security, how much you paid into the system, as long as you qualify, you're supposed to receive a specific minimum benefit. The problem is that the minimum benefit is so low. It was set up so that people who have a livable income, at least the Social Security benefit they're going to receive when they retire, when they start collecting benefits, will be reasonable. Well, the problem is that that minimum benefit is very low. Currently, the special minimum benefit, the lowest Social Security benefit anybody can receive, is $1,033. If you multiply that by 12, the annual benefit is $12,402. Next year is going to go up by just a tiny bit, by $33 to $1,066, which will raise it from $12,402 to $12,798. So as you can see, it is not enough money. It's actually below the poverty level. So if you are receiving Social Security benefits today, and all you're getting is the minimum benefit, and that is the only income that is coming to you, you are living below poverty, according to the government. What does that look like? Well, the current poverty level for 2023 is $14,580 for an individual. So if you're making less than $14,580, you are living below poverty. If you're making $14,580, you are at poverty level. So the president is proposing to increase the special minimum benefit from what it is today to 125% of the poverty level, which will be $18,225 if you're looking at 2023 numbers. You may not think that's a lot, but that's actually a big increase. So let's look at that. So before, I told you that next year the special minimum benefit is going to be $12,798. Well, if you use the president's adjustment, if that is implemented, the special minimum benefit is going to go to $1,518. And that's going to be a 47% increase in that special minimum. So you can see how significant that's going to be. It's a big jump for people who are receiving the minimum benefit. So he wants to increase that, and it's a $485 jump, which is a 47% increase. And that bumps the people who are at the bottom of the Social Security food chain up by 47% in income. And then the last part of the president's plan is to raise the primary insurance amount, which is a specific number that is used to calculate your Social Security benefits as a baseline, and then other factors are added to it: how much you worked, how much you paid into it, etc., etc. How long you waited before you started collecting benefits are all put on top of that. Well, he wants to increase the PIA for people ages 78 to 82. Why is that important? Well, studies have shown that people at that age have expenses, especially healthcare and prescription drug expenses, that escalate very quickly once you reach that age. So the president is factoring that and making sure that Social Security benefit for that age group increases to accommodate for the increase in costs that they are facing, that people in that age group historically have come to face. So those are the 4-part plans of the president's plan. It's supposed to boost the income that comes into the Social Security Trust Fund, increase the cost of living adjustment calculation by changing to the CPIE, raise the special minimum benefit that the people who are at the bottom of the Social Security benefit ladder are getting, and then increase the PIA, which is the baseline on which benefits are calculated, and want to increase that by 5% for a specific age group, 78 to 82. All this is going to cost money. So let's look at the issues that have been raised about it. So the Motley Fool did an article, 3 Fatal Flaws of Joe Biden's 4-point plan to change Social Security. So I've already walked you through the plan. You know what the plan is. Now let's look at the fatal flaws that they're talking about, that they think is wrong with the plan. The first one is, remember that I said that people over $400,000, the president wants them to pay Social Security, and they're going to remove the cap so that everybody will pay Social Security? Well, their thinking is that high-income earners may alter their income patterns to avoid Social Security taxes. What does this mean? Well, people who make a lot of money have several options available to them in terms of what they consider as income. So let me explain what high-income earners can have. Several options. They can take their money from stocks, profits from stocks that they have. They can take their money from other areas other than payroll. So if they know that payroll taxes are going to affect them the most, then they may shift their income to other sources and use other sources as income and collect less payroll taxes, which they think is going to hurt the economy. So that is the first concern. The second one is the insufficient term. The president's plan is going to extend the trust fund survival by 5 years. Now, from now, that's a long time, because 2035 is when the trust fund is going to have a problem. And this is saying that it's only going to push it to, maybe 2040. Now, if you're sitting here at 2023, that is a long time, but that is not a sufficiently long-term solution. So that is one of the fatal flaws that this article is bringing up about the president's plan. And then the biggest hurdle is that Congress has to review this and pass it. And you need a bipartisan support. And right now, it doesn't look like that is there. Given how polarizing Congress is, it's going to be very hard to get them to agree on anything. But as I said, one thing is for sure. Social Security cannot stay the way it is right now because we have headwinds ahead. And by 2035, there's going to be a serious crisis with the benefits. So let's look at the assessment. What are they saying should be done? Well, they want a further analysis, a bipartisan group to come up with comprehensive solution. And then also public awareness of the challenges that Social Security faces. And I think this is where Congress comes in. People in Congress needs to go out there and talk to the public about what is happening with Social Security and why there's a problem, so that it will push Congress people, senators to come together to do something about it. Because I don't think the public, both people who are on Social Security and people who are getting ready to get it, and even young people, understand that there is a crisis that needs a solution. It cannot be kicked further any longer. So let's get to the 60-minute episode that I've been waiting to talk to you about. So 60 Minutes did a story entitled Our Mistake, Your Responsibility. So Anderson Cooper does this great story highlighting the stories of 3 people that have been hit by Social Security overpayments and have received letters amounting to thousands of dollars in overpayments that they were required to pay in 30 days, most of which was not their fault. But as the title of the 60-minute episode says, Our Mistake, Your Responsibility. Let's dive into it. So, 71 million people receive Social Security every month. Each year, about 1 million people receive overpayment letters. That hits them with tens of thousands of dollars that they have to pay. And overpayments most of the time is due to miscalculations from the Social Security Administration. And regardless of how it happened, the debt sometimes shows up years after somebody has been receiving these payments. You may have been receiving payments for months, for weeks, for years, and then you get a letter in the mail saying, hey, the last 3 years you've been receiving overpayments of this amount, and we've calculated everything, and now you owe this amount. You have to pay in 30 days. So that is the crux of the issue. So 60 Minutes highlighted 3 stories. The first one is of Stephen and Becky Sword, and here is their story. So they live in Chicago. They received a letter in the mail from the Social Security Administration that they owe $51,887 and they have to pay it within 30 days. Well, how did this happen? Well, the husband, Stephen, is facing challenges after illness. So he's on disability benefits and he's been working part-time. They've been reporting all the wages and all his income to the Social Security Administration. Apparently, the Social Security Administration was not calculating and adjusting his Social Security disability benefits based on his work history. And so all this time he's been receiving Social Security benefits, he didn't know that he was receiving more money than he should have. And then, boom, he got a letter in the mail. He owes $51,887. Well, that is what 60 Minutes highlighted. And their defense is that they've sent everything. They documented everything. All the letters they've sent to Social Security, all the things they faxed, the fax receipts about his work history, every step of the way. And they still got the benefit. The letter from the Social Security Administration saying that they owe this money. Well, they tried to appeal. They appealed to the Social Security Administration. It was denied. They requested a waiver. A waiver is when you tell the Social Security Administration that it is going to be a financial burden for them to take all your benefits or part of your benefits to fix this issue. And that was also denied. So they were getting ready to really do something drastic, which is give up the little life savings they have, the little retirement savings they have, which was about $60,000. They were willing to give it to the Social Security Administration to just get this issue off their back. So that is story number one. Story number two is this couple that were highlighted, the story of Jean and Glenn Rodriguez. Well, what happened here is that the wife, Jean, was receiving Social Security benefits in overpayments up to $72,000. How did this happen? Well, it turns out that the Social Security Administration, in calculating the Social Security benefit that she was entitled to when she started receiving benefits, they calculated it wrong. So let me repeat that. When she started to receive Social Security benefits, the amount that the Social Security Administration calculated that she was entitled to based on her work history and her earnings, they calculated it wrong. But then they sent her a bill for $72,000 and stopped her payment completely. So for 2 years, she has not received a Social Security benefit because her benefits are being used to pay the overpayment that the Social Security Administration says she owes because she's been getting this money, all this money that she's been receiving for 4 years that she should not have received. So let's look at the third story, the story of Roy Farmer. Well, Roy's issue is even more bizarre because the overpayment happened at a time when he wasn't even an adult. You heard that right. So let's dive right into it. So here's the thing. When he was a child, he had cerebral palsy and was receiving disability benefits, which was going to his mother to care for him. Well, at age 11, the Social Security Administration realized that obviously they stopped paying him Social Security disability because they said he had gotten better. But then on top of that, they said at age 11, they've been paying him overpayments. So they sent him a letter, even though he's an adult in his 20s, sent him a letter that they had paid his mother $4,920. And even though his mom has passed away, the agency sent the letter to him. Why? Because according to the Social Security Administration, based on what he's making, the work that he's doing, they think he can afford to pay money that his mom received on his behalf when he was young, when he was 11. So, again, just like the other two parties, he appealed, he applied for a waiver, they were all rejected. So why is the Social Security Administration doing this? Well, clearly what I talked about before. Social Security is in trouble. And they are trying, even though they are making mistakes, they are pushing it on the recipients because they can. And because there's a staffing issues that has hit the Social Security Administration, more people are receiving Social Security and disability benefits than ever. And in the meantime, the staffing level at Social Security Administration has gone to a historic low. So there's a staffing problem, but more people are getting benefits. So if you get hit with overpayment, what can you do? Well, there are three things you can do. Number one, if you have the money and you agree with how much they say you owe, then you pay it back. Not a lot of people have that kind of money sitting around to pay $50,000, $60,000, $72,000. The next option is to appeal. You have 60 days from the time you receive the letter to appeal the overpayment. If that is denied, you have another option of applying for a waiver, which means that you're telling the Social Security Administration that you cannot pay this amount, and if they take any of your benefit or all of your benefits, it's going to cause you severe financial pressure. If that is denied, then you have one last option. You can go before an administrative judge, a Social Security administrative judge that will review your case. And in that case, you may want to get an attorney to help you prepare your case and file it. So, the Social Security Administration is being urged to do some reform, because there should be statute of limitations about these things. How is it that somebody that got overpayment at age 11 is getting hit with overpayment in his 20s? And why is somebody receiving Social Security benefits for 4 years, and then all of a sudden you guys are realizing that you've been paying the person more than they should have received, which was your fault, and now they have to be stressed out about this? So people are proposing reforms to change the system as it's currently operating. And as you can see from this, Social Security Administration has been busy collecting a lot of overpayments. What is the motivation? Because as I said, the trust fund is going to have problems in 2035. So the Social Security Administration is trying to collect all monies that are owed to the government. But even if they collect everything, it's still not going to be enough, because there's a bigger problem that needs to be addressed by Congress. But as you can see, every year they're collecting more money in overpayment, withholding people's checks to cover the overpayment that people owe. And still, there's $21.6 billion left to collect. So it is still a growing problem. If you get a Social Security overpayment, do not ignore it, because it is a problem that you have to deal with. And here is one surprising thing about all of this from 60 Minutes. Because 60 Minutes highlighted the story of these three people, Social Security Administration finally caved and waived all debt for all three of them, which then presents a problem. How about the 1 million people who are about to get letters that they owe overpayment? Who is going to waive their debt? So it shows that if you have the right people advocating for you, then you may get you may get help. But if you are doing it by yourself, they would ignore you, as they did with all three of them. All three of them filed appeals, all three of them filed waivers, and they were all denied. They had to pay the money. And then because they were featured on 60 Minutes, then their debt was forgiven. So if you find yourself in a Social Security overpayment, you should probably get an attorney or somebody that knows how to address this and help you present your case and present a good case to increase your chances. Or call your local media. Maybe if they do a story, the Social Security Administration will pay attention to your story. So that is a big part of what I wanted to cover today. If you are new to this channel, if you like what you heard, I want you to hit the subscribe button. As I mentioned, all we do is bring you the latest news and updates about Social Security and disability. Anything in and out of Congress that will affect your benefits, we want to bring it to you, and we want you to be the first to know. So hit that subscribe button notification so that you will get notified when we release a new video. So until I see you in the next video, thank you for watching.